Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. Welcome to a new video. All right, today we are going to look at Aron Wiesenfeld and Chuck Dixon's work on Team 7, the original launch miniseries of a Wildstorm title. I picked this book because I've been active on the Wildstorm Facebook group the last few days, and kind of as a little sort of celebration for them. They hit 4,700 followers on the site, which is really, really cool. And, you know, some of the comments and things that I've read on the site itself, or whatever you want to call it, the group, are that there's an appreciation for what Wildstorm symbolized and the amount of talent that came through the studio in a very short window of time. Within 6 to 8 years, you had this mega blast of like some of literally the greatest comic book artists of the last probably 25 or 30 years, all young guns. I mean, these are people that are between the ages of probably 17 and 23 years old, myself included. Although I didn't come in with the first wave, but we were just young artists that ended up being fortunate enough to have Jim Lee or people that Jim had around him discover us, and some really incredible comic books were made by very, like, Aron Wiesenfeld. When he did this was probably 19 or 20 years old, and it's absolutely insane the level of quality that this guy was delivering then. He had already worked for Neil Adams. He had gone to Union Cooper. I mean, he may have been 20, but still, that's so young to be drawing at this level. But that's how good the talent was that came through Wildstorm. But it just made me kind of reflect on how lucky I was to even be a small part of it and to know some of these amazing artists. So I shared some black and white Aron Wiesenfeld art, and you can go over to the group and check it out. But today what we're going to look at is we're going to look at most of issue 1 of Team 7, a little bit of issue 2, a little bit of issue 3, and a little bit of issue 4. If you've never read the series, I wouldn't really consider this book to have spoilers, but visually there will be spoilers, but I'm not going to go through the plot of the comic today in the video. But anyway, let's get to it. So this is the cover. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, Aron was my favorite artist for probably the first 5 years that I collected comic books. I loved everything about his work. I couldn't wait to see more. When I got to Wildstorm, I couldn't believe that I ended up actually getting to know him and be friends with him and go to his house and hang out and ask him questions, you know, about art and things like that. And he's the nicest person you could ever meet. So it's pretty cool. He's very soft spoken. He's a tall guy though. He's you know, he's over 6 feet tall, but yeah, super mellow dude. But anyway, the cover is insane. He combines so many awesome influences. You know, some people get touchy about this. There was kind of a joke, I think, in the live stream about that people get mad, like, if you get their influences wrong. But I mean, you know, clearly he had a little bit of Michael Golden in his stuff. There's Barry Windsor Smith. There's a little bit of Jim Lee. There's Frank Miller. There's Jorge Savino. You know, Neil Adams. There's a lot of different things kind of percolating in Aron's work. But I mean, and Tomo, he's just, it's a really, really amazing combination of things. But look at the detail on this. So the inks on this cover are by Trevor Scott. I actually think it's a phenomenal cover. Yeah, it's so badass. And I do actually think that Aron might have had some Will Portacio in his work for a time being. You see it more in issue 1 as he moved through his different styles. It's less apparent. And this is a variant cover that Will Portacio and Alex Garner did. It's, I think, 9 covers that were on all the Wildstorm books that connected into like one big poster. So pretty cool. You know, nice detail on this. It's almost got like a cell animation kind of vibe with the colors. It's very weird. Like, not bad weird, but like I didn't realize that it was colored that way back in the day. But yeah, it feels a little almost like it was printed on like plastic or vellum or something. It's very trippy. These guns are so funny. Okay, so let's continue. All right. So, page 1, Team 7, number 1. We've got Deathblow, Grifter. I think that's, I can't remember his name. This might be Chang, which is Grunge's dad. And then Lynch is in the Team 7. They're all in it. They've all lived a million lives. Yeah, going back and seeing this now, it's funny because I've talked about in other videos that sometimes you don't recognize exactly where your influences come from or like where you might get ideas for things. But you know, I have this obsession with like gun belts and these kind of things like bullets, and obviously Stephen Platt did it and other people have done it in comics. But I was seeing this, I'm like, oh, I wonder if some of that infatuation comes from this. And I didn't even remember that he was wearing this, but it is funny. But yeah, going back, especially after a time, you pick up on things. Look at the perspective on this gun. It is so kick-ass. Now, this first issue of Team 7 took Aron about a year to draw, from what I understand. I wasn't at Wildstorm at this time. Look at this double-page spread. It's crazy. But yeah, that's what I had heard, is that it took him nearly a year to draw the first book, which wasn't that uncommon for some of the first books that people did through Wildstorm. Travis did a Wildcat special, and I'm under the impression that took him about a year too. Now, the thing is, some of that's just goofing around and thinking time, and I'm not going to say that Aron was goofing around, but there's a transition that you make from having the ability to draw something like this and the experience to concept it, and they're two very different things. Aron could draw really, really well, but now to come up with this sort of thing and lay it out may have taken weeks, because it's like, this is just, some things are unfamiliar territory, and although he can problem solve his way through a piece like this, orchestrating all these types of pieces could be what takes a long time. And then you get like a little where it's very energy depleting and things like that. So slow is not as simple as just that they draw slow or whatnot. Because I mean, you can see like Aron will do real weird things with like faces that are like almost broken, but clearly he can draw his ass off. I mean, he's got the ability to do a lot of different things. These are really interesting scans. I think what's going on, and it's a good thing, there's a little bit of zipatone or screen tone on it, because I can see it right here too. I think that DC and DC is doing it with Wildstorm Files. They're going back and they're actually getting the original files that these books were printed on, and the stuff that they're releasing online now is some of the best quality reproductions of this work that I've ever seen. Because you're literally like almost getting the experience of what it would have looked like on the computer colorist screen. I mean, they're really, really phenomenal reproductions of this work. I was saying in the Wildcats Volume 2 book that I worked on, I'd never seen the work look that good in any printed form. Now, I've seen the black and white pages. It's a different story. But yeah, DC is doing God's work right now and reprinting this stuff, or digitally offering it, and these are the shit. So go get them. I was not kidding when I said I when I was doing the Wildcats video, I was literally going to call DC and thank them for actually putting out what I would consider the definitive collection of Wildcats Volume 2 finally, because the printed books just don't have what it really looked like. I'll zoom out a little bit. This one's a little tough read. So this page was a big deal to me. I'd never seen work this complex before. I wasn't aware of someone like Michael Golden at this time. And there was nobody, I mean, there was literally nobody at Image Comics that was drawing shit this insane at this time. You know, Silvestri wasn't going this deep. McFarlane, none of them. This is like just bananas in terms of how layered it was, how detailed it was, how complicated looking it was. This is some really, really time-consuming shit. And kudos to Trevor Scott for hanging in there on this book, because this is a lot to do. When I had mentioned that there was a point where I was inking Pat Lee on Wetworks, and Pat left the book pretty quick, but Pat came in doing stuff at about this level of detail, and I had said when I mentioned it in the other video that I had not seen work that detailed come through Wildstorm in a long time, and the only other thing that I could really compare it to was Aron's work. It was like taking Wolf's Portaccio and then turning it up like 3 notches in terms of detail. because wolves can draw kind of more sparse. I'm sorry, I meant to zoom out. Another interesting thing about Aron's stuff that I'm not 100% sure if it was just a comfort zone for him, but you'll notice when he draws faces bigger, and even bigger than this, they actually are probably some of the best faces that he draws. And yet, sometimes when he would draw smaller faces, they would get a little more weird and a little more distorted, and things would kind of get more funky. And it's interesting as someone who's gone through part of the learning process of learning to draw, and it is funny how, like, you'll have blind spots, you'll have comfort size levels that you can draw it, like certain sizes just for whatever reason will be easier for you to draw it. But yeah, I don't know what it is he switches something in his mind, and when he does big heads, they're always really well done and have like a real nice, like it's not like a photorealism. This is another great shot too. You just weren't seeing this as much then. I do credit some of it to like things like Shiro, Ghost in the Shell, and Atomo for sure, because Aron and Richard Bennett were the first two artists that I met that were into like anime and stuff like that, and it was getting popular at Wildstorm. It's not to say they were the only ones, because Alan M was into it, and I'm sure that there were other people too. I know J. Scott Campbell always got pegged for that early on, that people thought that he was into anime a lot. I kind of want to go in order just for the first book. It won't matter later. This is a great sequence. So you've got Team 7 sneaking through this, warehouse. It's a really, really great panel. This scene with the bad guys is so cool. Love the colors on this. And then this is such a cool sequence. The grabbing the gun, the kick to the crotch, eye gouge to finger cut off. And then this. This was one of the first times that I ever noticed storytelling, and I'll explain. I mentioned this before, and someone actually commented and appreciated what I said. Storytelling can mean multiple things to a comic book artist when they say storytelling. It can be the overall composition of the page. It can be literally the storytelling, meaning like, are you telling a story that's clear for someone to look at and be able to understand what's going on from the panel to panel? The other thing is flow and composition. And so Aron does something really great here. I actually am on my thing. I'm just going to show you this really quick though. He did a great thing with these two panels in particular. This movement of the upstroke of this guy getting stabbed in the face, and then this right here, and then this right here is really, really brilliant. And when you read the comic and this, and this happens, this goes so fast. And I definitely think that his year of working at Continuity with Neil Adams sealed the deal on ideas like this, because this is a very, very advanced thought process for someone his age to be pulling off storytelling like this. Because, not to throw stones at other studios, but if you look at younger artists at Top Cow or at Extreme and stuff like that, they weren't doing storytelling like this. They were doing great stuff, but just there's a maturity to this that you don't often find in comics, in particular for someone the age of Aron when he did it. And I don't want to harp on that he was young in doing this, but it's still impressive nonetheless. This is great too. I actually think that I might have inked this as a sample page at one point. I vaguely remember having a photocopy of this and trying to tackle this. Speed lines and stuff like that are funny because it's not a big deal for me now, and it hasn't been for a long time. But when you're learning to ink or even pencil, maybe speed lines are kind of like a big deal. Like, getting them all to go to like one vanishing point and having them taper and whatnot. And this stuff is always kind of like a mind bender too, of like positive and negative effects. And he just doesn't skimp on detail anywhere in this. So. Look at this. This is great too. He gets real cartooning here. This is really interesting. I like how he stretched Deathblow out, and it's almost like you can really feel like his original thumbnail idea he kept into this piece, and I actually like that. The fact that it's a little bit warped, but it really, really looks good. And there's a lot of real estate going from his shoulder to his neck, but it works. it works for me and it looks good, even though it's not like anatomically. If you try to work out this figure, it would be very trippy. In fact, like his arm is super truncated. Well, there's a lot of like trippiness going on. And then look at this. This little tiny panel with all this is so badass. Man, it's great. But this is high octane shit. This is not like, you know, if you're looking at this and vibing on this drawing style is not for everyone. This is very, very time consuming stuff, and it will rip your heart out and exhaust your brain. So be ready if you're going to go for something like this, because it's no joke. No joke. This is really cool. Another nice sort of pull on this Deathblow figure, but man, that's great. It kind of simplifies. I was like this too. I thought this was such a great panel. Let's do this really quick. Let's see if I can use some gray. Dodge. Okay. We'll see if this is going to be dodge or burn. Oh, wait, no. Wait. Oh, it's on burn. Hold on. Kind of bleach that out a little bit more so you can see this. But this is kind of like, you can see a little bit of that Frank Miller kind of thing coming into his stuff a little bit with that kind of high contrast, almost like an inverse. It's really cool. I mean, honestly, like it almost does look like film that's been inverted. That panel is kind of cool. Stairs. This. It's like, whoa, he drew stairs in perspective? What is going on? He's just a monster. God, that's so great. What do you guys think? I've done a video on this before, but it's fun. It's been long enough that it's worth doing it. And he does have other books that are phenomenal too. Deathblow Wolverine is really good, and Wildstorm Spotlight, he did some short stories in, and there's other things you can find. He did a little bit of work for Marvel before this, but it's not really at this level. And you can find I think 1 or 2 comics from Continuity that he did. So good. I remember one time I was starting to get the penciling bug a little bit, and I was at Aaron's house, and I was trying to draw someone laying down shooting a gun, and somewhere I have sketches that he did showing me how to draw someone laying down and like firing a rifle. It's like the foreshortening could get tricky on that, and it's like you got the gun, you're dealing with that, and the other thing. This is really cool. This is like so classic. Well, you know what's funny too is this kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the stuff that Michael Turner did in Ballistic. They don't have similar styles, but this was very like an imagey panel type idea. Kelsey is texting me. Hold on, let me just text him back really quick. It'll just take a second. I'll vamp while we're doing it. I'm going to go, Kelsey, I'm doing a video. I'm shooting a video right now on Team 7. Let's see if it goes through. There, I'll send it to him. But yeah, I actually, it was funny, is I texted Kelsey this morning because I watched his interview with Mike Barron, and it was really, really interesting, and it got me excited about writing and storytelling and cinematics, and so I wanted to ask Kelsey about optical lenses and how like a comic book artist can shoot scenes in a cinematic way. Like I told them that I had framed ink and framed ink, and the framed ink books kind of talk about camera angles and stuff like that. And look, the thing is that it really does actually tie in with Aron Wiesenfeld in a very funny way. But Aron really, like, he is a great storyteller. That's one of the things that Aron possessed, which is his work is maybe not necessarily cinematic, but boy, could this guy tell a story with the shots and stuff that he chose. I mean, it's just really, really amazing. Here, this is a pinup. Someone asked me about this today. If they asked me if I knew where the original was of this piece. I've seen a black and white version of this piece, but I don't know if I've ever. I'm gonna take the, or well, I'll lighten it a little bit with the set. It's a little oversaturated and it's a little dark. But really, really nice pinup. You know, I mean, it's again, you can kind of see him filling out things like this guy's body. His torso is really, really small, like crazy small. Look at where his waist is right here. I mean, you could argue his waist is down here and his belt is pulled up, but he has like literally like no upper body. It's like stuff I do. I call it wild style drawing, where it's like you got the pieces, but like when you put it together, it gets a little cray cray. But it's still a really fun piece. I mean, I have no complaints on this poster. I think it's really fun. Somewhere I actually think I do have the poster too. This is fun. I'm really enjoying looking at this with you guys. So hopefully everyone else is enjoying it. All this stuff was drawn in the background. If you see black and whites of these pages, this is all actually drawn in pen and ink and then just knocked out. And, you know, this kind of harkens back to a little bit of maybe like the Ronin work. Aaron knew his comics. Aaron got me into quite a few artists. Barry Windsor Smith was one. He got me into Walter Simonson, was another artist. Michael Golden, Atomo, you know, he showed me Memories, also Akira. So I really credit Aaron for a lot of my early sort of deeper knowledge of comics, because I didn't know jack shit when I really got to Wildstorm, other than what was coming out and a little bit of what I had found, you know, in back issue bins or on the bookshelf that looked interesting. Like, see, this head is kind of crazy. And look, I consider this part of the book, not literally what Aaron's doing, but when you start getting this many pages into a book, the wear and tear starts to get to you. You've done a lot of work. You're kind of getting fatigued. There's probably deadline pressure creeping in. This is a really cool page. It's, again, kind of Frank Miller, kind of a Tomo, but they do this experiment on these guys and like kill them all. But yeah, you know, it's when you get in the deep water in a book, you get around page 14 or 15, 16, and you've been putting this amount of detail, like, you are beat up. This was insane. It presents decently well in this, but this was nuts too, all the rendering on this. I think, you know, I've talked about, like, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of hatching, not meaning with Aaron's work, but just like on my own work, when I'm trying to create gray and I do hatching, and if I end up with something like this, it always does look a little, not a little, it looks too busy to me, but it's still fun that he did this. But yeah, I'm not, you just can't hatch everything. It just doesn't work. You got to have some other textures. This is a mellow rockin' page. He was like, I can take a nap now. To be clear, he doesn't hack out the end of this book. This is just the storytelling part of it. This is probably him channeling a little bit of Michael Golden, like the Nam. Crazy corpses. Okay. Oh, man, look at this. Trouble. But this is some crazy ass, like, some weird faces. I can't believe he renders a hand this much, like a hand and arm this much. That's so much detail. That's crazy, right? This is pretty classic Wildstorm colors for the time. Like, if you look at anything from around 93, 94, a lot of it did look like this. You know, because they were learning from each other. You know, because it was a little bit of a uncharted territory, you know, to be honest. Oh, look at this. This is great. He does such good explosions and, like, debris and damage and stuff like that. Oh, it's so cool. I'm excited to talk to Kelsey about cinematography. This is very Mignola. And it's funny because I love Mignola. Like I'm always trying to figure out ways to get a little bit of Mignola into my stuff. And things like this are usually where it does appear to for me. Is you know, you do something like a background like this in a Mignola style, but you don't draw like Mignola. It doesn't really, it will stand out too much. But yeah, you kind of find little places. But if you haven't seen this work, you're going to be very fascinated by how much Aron's work evolves over the next pages when this book is done, because his art really does change a lot. And it just matures at like a very, very rapid speed. Oh yeah, this is the last page from Team 7, number 1, and then we'll just go out of order. It won't really matter after this. I just wanted to do this book in order. So again, about a year for him to draw this, as far as I understand, and quite the achievement, to be honest. It's something that he should be proud of. You know, it's probably a little cringy for him to go back and look at it in spots. Maybe, you know, when it's your work, it's different than, you know, other people looking at it, and you know, you go, oh god, I remember that arm was driving me up the wall. Or things that just are off or whatever, you know. I think with time, generally, I think you can appreciate it maybe a little bit more, and it doesn't, you're able to separate yourself from the job. But okay, so now we're going to get into some of the other stuff that he did. So this is from Team 7, number 4. At this point, you know, you're really going to start to see more graphic stuff. You'll see a bit more Barry Windsor Smith. You'll see kind of like Hellboy Seed of Destruction kind of Mignola coming in. And again, like probably some Jorge Safino, and then just a lot of Aron. But the image look has kind of at this point dissipated for the most part. Like, look at this. This is just crazy. I still see some Michael Golden in it. But again, it's, wow, this is so good. Funny. Watch your step. Boom, 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 boom. Kick to the face. Oh, he also did a book called Guardian Angel, which is actually pretty cool. So this is Death Blow. About to deal death with a blow, apparently. Believe it or not, I actually own this hallway. The art for the hallway. I'll explain in a second, but I actually do. I own the background. He used the background on four or five pages, and was done on its own sheet of paper. And then these characters, if you see the original, this particular page, it's just these two characters, and the background is statted behind them. Okay. This page is the same way. The background is the same background from before, and if you see the black and white of this, only the characters would be on it. These hands and guns are actually absolutely phenomenal. Look at the handcuffs. He's so good at perspective. That was one thing I was always so impressed with, was his attention to detail on backgrounds and just his ability to draw perspective. Okay, this page is still the statted background, and the characters are on their own sheet. And again, look at the position of this hand and arm and the lighting here. It's incredible what he's doing. The baton, this is such good shit. And again, the handcuffs just are, it's the chains, look at that. No all side view chain bullshit. He's got it rotating and turning around in space like a boss. All right. Now, this page is the only one that actually has background actually drawn on the original. I own this page. Yeah, so this is actually the only one that he drew the background. But I think what ended up happening, and he may have planned this ahead of time, but then what he did is, and obviously didn't have the lettering on it at the time, then he did another sheet of paper and redrew everything that didn't exist behind them. But yeah, so... But I own the original of this. You can see this on Facebook. And this is the cover for Team 7, number 4. Very graphic. You know, it's just such a different style than the first issue. But, I mean, you can definitely see, you know, potentially like a Frank Miller thing kind of going on here. And it looks good. All right. I own this too. This is double page spread from issue 3, and again you can see the Mignola, like Hellboy, Seed of Destruction kind of influence on this. It was funny is because I know people were commenting when I commented myself on how teethy my character were in my Gen Active story that I did. It is possible that some of it may have been an influence from this, because these characters are pretty teethy too. I was noticing that before, but again, I can't sometimes pinpoint the aesthetics that I use. It's just like you get it in your head that looks right, or it looks the best, and you know, you repeat it enough times and you don't even really remember like where the idea might have came from. This is a cool piece. So this is Alex Garner inking Aaron, and let me do this. I think I can make this grayscale. In black and white, this thing was absolutely beautiful. Aaron had almost never been inked this clean. Oh, Aaron's got a great pinup that Alex inked, or no, it might have been Alve, in Medieval Spawn Witchblade. I think it's in number 2, but he did a killer double page spread pinup in there that's really worth checking out. It's so badass, but this is really cool. And again, just beautiful drawn gear. The perspective on everything is so nice. It looks so good. Everything has got such great 3D. The authenticity of stuff, and I'm not a gun guy, but this all looks like legit weapons. So he did his homework and due diligence on this. The goggles, it's just great. I own this page too. What is going on here? Oh, they put some kind of zipatone texture. There's no zipatone on the page. This is a computer thing. Huh, that's weird. I don't know what this is. That's not on the original, but there's some sort of weird, like, stamp thing going on here. I don't know what that is. Early special effects, I guess. So I bought this original for a funny reason. One, it was cheap, but two, I absolutely loved how he drew the destroyed building. I thought it was just incredible, because something like this is not something that you would practice or really, like, like if you're in your sketchbook, the chances are you're not drawing destroyed buildings. Man, motorcycle's loud. Car, whatever it was. Again, great explosions. Aaron's the master of explosions. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck this shit is in the background. Some colors was getting jiggy. Cool tank. I mean, a Jeep. This is so badass. I love this. I can't be afraid. Can't let it see fear. So we just got a few more pages. I thought it'd be. See, stuff like this. This almost looks like realistic to me. Like, I don't know if you used photo reference for it, but there's a little bit of like realism to it that's trippy. Didn't have digital cameras back then, so it wouldn't have been easy to do like a reference shoot. I mean, you could do it, but you would have to go get the film developed. Which, I mean, I guess if you planned it out, it would be possible. Oh, yeah, this is good. There's another page coming up where a guy runs up the stairs. It's so good. There's like spiral stairs, and he's running up the stairs. It's just incredible. Again, the rendered roof. This right here. I love this. General, you home? The destruction from here to here is fucking awesome, and this guy getting like all knocked down, and then he's just coming up the stairs. But man, this is great. I love the way that he spread the debris out. Like, it's got a really beautiful flow to it. He really understands like animation with his placement of objects. Oh, this is so good. We're on it, Skipper. Making a door. Let's go, boys. That's cool. This is good shit, right? Look at this. Tomo. If this isn't Akira, I don't know what is. You tell me. This hand is very Mignola, though. Kelsey will know. He'll see it. He'll go, I've seen that hand in a Mignola comic. Me too, Kelsey. This is so good right here. Woo! And then this. Look at that. Man, that's right out of Akira. It looks so good. Or Ronin. Like, Frank gets that kind of bubbly corrosion going. Oh, man, it's so cool. I just thought this was a really neat page. The blinds and just this is so nice. This has almost got like a little bit of the like Daredevil, Mazzucchelli, Frank Miller sort of era stuff, which it wouldn't surprise me if Aaron was a fan of that. I definitely think that he would have known that stuff and been into it. We're getting there. I don't think there's too many more files. I don't remember grabbing too many more. So anyway, but yeah, well, thank you for tuning in. I wanted to get a video up. Yeah, this is the last page. This is the first page of issue 2. So, all right, you guys have a great day. That is Aron Wiesenfeld, Chuck Dixon writing. The first issue that we looked at was Trevor Scott inks, and then the other pages that we looked at were J.D. and Scott Williams. And it's a good series. It's 4 comic books, highly recommended. I mean, obviously, as I said, in terms of like quality of reproductions, you definitely want to seek out the digital stuff that DC has been releasing, because they went back to what looks to me the original files, and it's about as good as it's ever looked, to be honest. Now, if you have the comics or the trade, those are nice. You know, I don't really have an overall. The first issue of Team 7 printed a little bit dark, but the other ones are pretty good. But you know, but DC is really doing some good work with their reprints right now. So props to them. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. I've been super busy is the only reason that I haven't been posting consistently, but I think I'm at the end of the conflict. I should be wrapping all the business stuff up today, and if not, definitely by tomorrow. And then it's going to be smooth sailing, and I'll have 3 months that I'll be able to work on Blaster Kid with no distractions or interruptions. It's been a shit show the last like 5 or 6 weeks, but I had to get some other stuff taken care of, business stuff, money. You know what I'm talking about. You know. So anyway, but I think I've got it. I think I've got it under control. So all right, you guys, I love you all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.